Happy Monday. I'm going to keep doing this, I think. Mondays, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the Midwest of America. I'm going to go through, talk a little bit of rugby, Six Nations. Going to do this for at least a half hour, hard max, like 45 to an hour hard max. Let's call it an hour hard max. You never know. The baby is asleep. It's time to roll. So, Six Nations, first and foremost. Woo! Spicy weekend. Spicy weekend. We'll begin at the end. Oh my goodness, did Wales get smoked by France? Just smoked. I think this was fully to be expected. Any and everyone who has been paying any attention whatsoever knew that France was gonna take it to Wales. Particularly, I thought Wales had a few stretches, kind of like middle of the first half. They managed to get some things going. They're playing decent rugby. They got a try. All of a sudden, they're down 7-19. And then that moment of madness, Adam Beard, the lock, like teammate made a really nice poach near midfield. And a lock picked up a loose ball kind of out of the back of that ruck off of that poach ball and decided to kick it. And also he kicked it right-footed, so I wouldn't expect a forward to, most rugby players don't have ability to kick off of both feet. But completely, probably just a panic moment. He saw the space, whatever. He kicked with his right foot to his left. In the meantime, the French winger Adesagba kind of comes around and just gets to the post defense, which ends up meaning that he's right there to block this attempted grubber from Adam Beard, the Welsh lock. And it went poorly. Adesagba, so he comes in to charge down, or he blocks a kick, whatever, immediately scoops it up, takes a couple steps, guy goes to tackle him, offloads right to the inside, hits Jalibert straight away for a try. So Wales, France was on them from the minute go. They had straight away a couple tries. Just looked beautiful in attack, and then Wales kind of they found, I don't want to call it a rhythm, but they looked okay. They looked like they were trying to do good things with it, and yeah, whoopsie, Adam is right. And they were trying to do some good things with it, and then great poach. Even if we all take foolish kicks from times to time, and then boop, nope. There's a fourth try before halftime. Any momentum Wales had, any positivity they had going, gonzos. France has the bonus point before halftime. It's got to be a rough one to go into the sheds. And then from there, second half, it was just all France, and they just kind of ran all over them. But big thing I noticed from the French, so they're on the whole, I thought the Welsh set piece looked a little better. They won most of their lineouts. They were competitive at scrum time, but in the loose, the French are just bigger, stronger, more skilled, better, all around, just a better team. And then the back line, not even close. The French back line, world class. They had a couple young fellas in at center who I thought looked really, really good. Both of them scored tries. The wingers, BLBRE and Adesagba, both scoring tries. They were turning up all over the field. Jalibert was really, really good at fly half. Ramos, really good at 10. Antoine Dupont, he's Antoine Dupont. He looked phenomenal. Hi there, Clarence Hall. We're talking rugby here. And the French backline just looked class. Looked like they kept being able to find space kind of in that fullback channel. A lot of the times they'd run a looper around, and there'd be like two wide passes, and all of a sudden you'd see the fly half or somebody else they'd be in that outside channel, and they'd just be an extra man, and they'd be off to the races running downhill. Was really, really impressive attacking rugby from the French. Also, the way they use their wingers, you see it regularly where they'd have a kick would come over the top, they'd come back in field for a step, and then they play it right back to Adesagba or BLBRE on the right back at that wing that they just came from, and regularly they just found those wings. You're seeing them that they got involved. They found a lot of work around the pitch. It was really impressive from that French back line, and I thought their forwards, like I said, I think the Welsh set piece was okay. They held their own, but the French forwards, in loose play, were just dominant. I mean, a lot of dominant carries. The offloading play also from the French was really impressive. I'm not sure if it was a tactic or if it was just if they went into the game intending to say, hey, we're going to offload a lot in the tackle, but they offloaded a lot in the tackle, and they were really effective with it. I was really impressed. Momentum, I'll start and end. Yes, 100%. Plus mental game. Personally, I think a good start, how you go into the shed and then how you start the second half. I think as a coach, I've always stressed it. I think that's an individual thing for different players. Um, but for the most part, that's something I stress momentum and like the headspace it puts you in and the ability to string together positivity. I think is a really important part of rugby. I've also talked a lot like double scores. Like if you get a score, if you can right away like score and then score, like that's a big swing in a game. That's if you can put up even if it's just a penalty kick and then a try. Say it's only 8 points. That's 2 score game. Like you've made a big difference. Anytime you get a little bit of positivity, if you can hammer that with more positivity and get a real like wave of momentum, I think it's really valuable. I think as individuals like players, as far as especially like going into the sheds and stuff, I think some players kind of like they can take a step back and they're just cool as cucumbers. I think giving up points right before half is tough. Um, I think if you've put in a lot of effort, you've had some good things, maybe things have gone your way, not your way. But if you give up some like negativity right before you've got time to sit there and think about it, I just think that creeps in. That's not to say for some players and some teams, that's a good way. Hey, we need to reset, and then we'll come out the second half really positively. I think it's individual to players and teams, but I always think momentum and mindset are super important to rugby, and you want to grab positive momentum and ride it as long as you can. Double scores, keep the pressure on, etc. Momentum goes the other way, not on you. Always want to say, hey, clean it up, end their momentum, get something positive for us to grab onto. So that's just how I've always coached momentum and around halftime and stuff. Second half, like all France. Again, I think a lot of their tries, they had Marchant, the hooker, he had one of their tries off of a really nice maul. And then Charles Olivon in both of these Six Nations matches. Olivon, he's number 4 lock. He's turned up like in loose play in the open field. You don't always see locks, ball in hand, like out in space. Olivon has found himself in that position repeatedly in these first 2 Six Nations games. I got to think that's some IQ right there and turning up in the right spot. It also helps when your backs are making line breaks throughout the game, but the French offloaded. They were dominant in the contact point. This was really France from the word go. Like I said, I think Wales had that little bit of positivity there mid first half. They got their one try and then kind of went to heck. The final score of that 54-12, and with that, France is like firmly in control of the Six Nations. Out of the 6 teams, they're the only one who's undefeated through 2 games. And they also got 4 try bonus points in both games. So as far as the standings go, France have 10 points. The next closest team has 6 points. So this is France's Six Nations to lose. If you know anything about the history of French rugby, oftentimes world beaters, oftentimes they'll have just a shocking performance. So wouldn't surprise me if France really has a bad performance and loses a game somewhere. But even if they lose a game with the bonus points, with the way they're looking, I think this is their Six Nations to lose. You think the rubber match against England, that's always a big one, big rivalry game as far as France is concerned. You'd think that could be one where they could lose, but then that brings me to the next one. England did not look good this past weekend against Scotland. They had moments, but again, just like France just jumped out and jumped all over Wales, Scotland was all over England from like the first whistle. Like Finn Russell, they got a penalty right in front of the sticks, like 4 minutes in, I think. Gets that. Then they get a try to Hugh Jones, and they get another try. It was just like bang, 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 and all of a sudden Scotland's up like 17-0. It was just momentum from the word go. I think it was like 15 minutes gone, and they were already up. They had more points than they had, I think, in both the French and the Scots. They had like more points than there were minutes gone by in the game. It was just right off the bat. I mean, England clawed back for a bit. In kind of the middle again, like Wales versus France, like kind of in the middle of that first half. They got a little momentum. There was some positivity. They got one try. They got a penalty kick. Kind of stemmed the bleeding. All things were looking okay. I think I want to say it was like 17-10, I believe. And then they got one more try. I think it was the scrum half for Scotland. There was like a kick over the top, and Ellis Gange, the loose head prop for England, was alone dealing with picking up this kick over the top back, about at his own 5-meter line. goes down, completely flubs it. Ball bounces. Scottish scrum half picks it up, dots it down, gets converted. All of a sudden, it's 24-10 at halftime, and at that point, it's like, oof, that's a tough one. So yeah, Scotland from the word go. Also, Finn Russell. I had said, I did a little preview video or something, and I'd said I think this is going to come down to the fly halves. Now I picked England to win and was remarkably wrong with it, and I want to own that. But I said I think it's going to be a battle of the fly halves, and I thought George Ford was like really on form in that first match of the Six Nations. Finn Russell was on another planet on Saturday. I can't remember if it was the first or the second try. One of those two early tries Scotland scored where he just did the flick pass, like ball coming, and he just flick past it, just like a quick swat. It was right on the line to his winger. Winger goes, he's gone. Like it was Finn Russell. Like when he is on, absolutely world class. Really pulled strings all day long for Scotland, and well-earned victory. They got back the Calcutta Cup. So I believe Scotland had won 3 in a row. And then last year, England beat them by 1 point at Twickenham. I think it was like 16-15 was the final of that one. So Scotland and England play for the Calcutta Cup. And there's some old colonial history. There's some reason for it, and I don't remember what it is. But that is now Scotland 4 out of 5. So England had it for 1 year there. Scotland had it the previous 3. Scotland got it back. So Scotland, well-deserved Calcutta Cup win. Same thing too with the momentum. And in the second half, England were doing some good things early second half. I think they got to try to. No, Arundel was the try in the first half. They were not going to. Maybe it's a penalty kick. Let me see. I'm going to go back to this to a match report here because I don't remember exactly how this happened. But bottom line, it was. Like they had some stuff that first 10, 12 minutes of the second half. They had some things going. Yeah, George Ford had a penalty early second half. But then they're kind of knocking on the door. They got a little bit of positivity. They're in Scottish territory, camped out. George Ford sets up for a drop goal, and it gets charged down. And then Hugh Jones is like off to the races, picks it up, and he's gone for his second try of the game. And at that point, it was like, yeah, they're cooked. Scotland got him. At that point, I don't think anyone in the park, anyone at Murrayfield had any doubt about that Scotland was going to finish that one. It was really impressive. Scotland just seemed to play their best rugby when they play England consistently. Like they turn up. I mean, they lost that one to Italy last week. Italy earned the dub. But Scotland, man, they were on another planet, and England looked shell-shocked for large stretches of this match. That kind of, speaking of Italy, brings me back to the first match of the weekend. I'm kind of going in reverse order here. Ireland got by Italy. Again, prediction, hand up. I was wrong. I said, I think Italy's got this, just barely. Ireland, on the flip side, Ireland squeaked this one out. Really, I think it came down to execution and turning pressure into points. Italy, I think if you watch the game, Ireland got the first try. It was a really nice offload. I thought the Ulsterman, Stuart McCluskey, I thought he played really well in the midfield as a center for Ireland. Had a really beautiful offload to Osborne, the fullback. Ginger with the big left boot for the first try, and it put Ireland up straight away, 5-0, and then Prendergast missed what was a very makeable conversion, kind of the start of a bad run for him. And then from that point on, like the rest of the first half was just like Italy pressure. Like Garbisi had a penalty kick shortly after that Ireland try, got him on the board. They had a big maul that ended up I think it was a hooker scored it, and then that ultimately got converted by Garbisi again. So Italy is up 10-0. They had an opportunity right before halftime. I think they kicked for the corner and they went for another maul, and they ended up not getting the score. That was a big moment. Story of the game, I think, Italy they had a lot of visits to the Irish 22. They had a lot of positivity. They just did not convert pressure to points nearly enough. Their set piece was really solid. I think there was an early scrum penalty or two for Ireland that I kind of disagreed with. And then from then on out, like the Italian scrum was just pumping the Irish. They had them on the back foot all day. There was one in the early second half where they popped up Tag Furlaw, who's like the big tight head prop for Ireland, who came on at halftime. Completely popped him, took him off the ground. Like they got a couple scrum penalties. Like that Italian scrum was absolutely gorgeous. but they never were able to convert as much pressure as they had into points. I think there was a few decisions too. Ireland kind of early in the second half, they get their first try through Jack Conan, levels it. Prendergast again misses a conversion. This one was a little tougher, to be fair, but leveled it. And then I think thereafter they got another penalty kick. And so it was like, okay, so Ireland, they went from being kind of under pressure all first half to like, all right, well now we're tied. Now we got a lead. Italy had a beautiful break. Was awarded a try in the right corner at first for Louis Lina. They ended up looking at it, going back, looking at it. Said the final pass from Menoncello, the outside center for Italy, was forward. I think it was ultimately a good call. Speaking of good calls, shout out Holly Davidson. First time ever woman ref in doing at the center ref for a Six Nations match. I thought she did a really good job. Thought she, when there was close calls, I thought they got it right. I thought calling that try back was correct. I think that was a big momentum killer. That would have been, I think it was 10-10 when that got called back. And had that try from Linus stood, hey, Italy, they got 5 more points. Maybe he converts it. All of a sudden, they're fully in the driver's seat. They kind of had the positivity, the momentum. They were the dominant team and the team with more go forward throughout the match. They get that try. They regain the lead. They can go from there. Instead, try gets called back. Then Ireland score. Then I think really like the call of the match, Andy Farrell sub Prendergast, the starting fly half, who had been struggling out at about 55 minutes, and put Jack Crowley on, and you could immediately see like the change in Ireland. Their attack looked sharper. Defensively, Crowley's a better defender than Prendergast. He said he was very involved in the try to Balcone, who that ended up being, the last Irish points, puts them up 20-10 all of a sudden. So they go from down 5-10 at halftime to 15 to maybe 20 minutes into the second half. And all of a sudden they're up 20-10. And a lot of that, it wasn't really that they were outplayed. Like Italy was still doing things and they were pressuring Ireland, but they weren't getting points out of it. So once again, territory and pressure, you got to get your points when you can get them, and Ireland just did a better job of that. I think Garbisi added one more penalty kick at some point there in the second half, so the final scoreline was Italy with 13 and Ireland 20, and Italy was knocking on the door trying to score till the end of the game. I think we went several minutes into stoppage time. Eventually, James Lowe picked off kind of an errant, silly offload from Ioane, the Italian winger. And then he's racing away, finally gets caught. They eventually end up kicking it into touch, game over. But Italy was knocking on the door the whole game. I thought there was a number of times where, geez, if they'd have gotten points there, if they could have finished that, that was Italy's game. All credit to Ireland though. They lost the opener pretty badly to France. I think they stepped up and they really took control of that match in the second half. And I think Andy Farrell was brilliant with his subs. Crowley in particular, but some of the forward subs as well, really made a big difference for Ireland. And that ultimately got them the result. Maybe they're just a little more experienced. I still think Italy are going to win at least 1, maybe 2 more matches in the Six Nations. If Italy had beaten Ireland, all bets are off. I don't think they're as good as France, but this Italian side is good. Again, these young kids, they got brought up early. They've got a lot of caps for being in their mid-20s. This Italian team is ready to win big games. I think ultimately this ends up being a learning experience for them and give them the next Six Nations, next World Cup. I really think this Italian team, they're going to put a marker down, and Italian rugby is going to take a step forward here in these next couple years. And really, these first 2 games of the Six Nations, they have. They've been a good side. They've been very competitive, a lot of pressure. They completely took it to Scotland. Really, they were in that first match. It was a close match, but the go forward and the intent from the Italians is really beautiful. They play with a lot of passion. All credit to Italy, but ultimately Ireland, they converted to pressure to point. So thoughts on young, greener players on big stages? Ooh, good question. I think, again, kind of like the momentum in a game, I think some of that's individualized. Some players, I think, are just born to handle pressure well. I think in the particular case of Italy here, I think they did a good thing. They've always been a bit of a middling level, I would say, World Rugby. You'd call them a tier 2 team at best. And they've kind of always been down there. And I think they made a conscious effort to bring these young players up And so some of these guys who are now, yeah, at 40, 50 caps at 24, 25 years old, now that Italy looks like they're kind of taking a step forward on the stage. I think those guys got their knocks in the last couple of years. I think nothing beats experience. Some players and some people are just made for pressure, and they want the pressure and they just deal with it well. Ultimately, sometimes the ball is going to bounce the wrong way, but more often than not, you'll see that young player the first time you're under that pressure or you're in that situation, you think you're going to get that big win and you're just there and like, and then you flub it. I think a great example of that, Garbisi. I'm a big fan of his. The Italian, the fly half, Paulo, the older Garbisi brother. His younger brother is the replacement scrum half. There was one play in the mid to late second half where Italy have good possession. They're basically right on the Irish 22. They've been there for a few phases. And Paulo Garbisi just puts up a high ball into the Irish 22. It really didn't make there was no advantage on or anything. Didn't make sense to me. Kind of felt like a younger player just trying too hard, trying to make something happen that wasn't there. So great question. Yeah, I think young green players on big stages, the only way to get used to big stages is to be on big stages. And I think usually experience will help. And I think as players get to that 30, 40, 50 caps, I think you see them react better in pressure situations. That's definitely something I have seen as a coach in a big way. When I at Iowa Central Community College, so most of our guys are 18 to 20, and I would regularly see players who we'd have very winnable games, and we'd have a game plan, and then we'd get to a pressure situation, and you'd see them completely like the mind just goes. They wouldn't react well to the pressure. I think a lot of that was immaturity. There's always the like, how can I coach these kids to be better, to react better in pressure situations? But ultimately, I really do think age and experience, there's something to it. Some people are made for pressure. Some people, they got to screw it up a few times before they can do it well. But ultimately, I think maturity is a thing. And the way to be used to being on a big stage is, one, train your mind ahead of time, like visualize those situations. But otherwise, you just got to be on a big stage. And maybe you'll screw it up a few times. Maybe you'll get lucky and it'll go great from the get-go. But ultimately, there's nothing improves a player quite like experience and game time. And when you're brand new at the next level up, whether that's a big stadium, whether that's college, whether that's professional, international, whatever, you think ultimately, what's up, Dan Herrick? How you doing, dude? I think ultimately those pressure situations, the more you're into them, the more you're used to them, the more you're able to function and react well during a pressure situation. So that's what I got on Six Nations. I think it's France's to lose. I think they're clearly the best team. They're clearly the top of the standings. I think their game against England could end up really interesting. Honestly, if Scotland plays the way they did this weekend, they could beat anybody on any day. Really, they just took it to England. It was so fun to see. I don't care that I predicted England to win just barely. I was so happy to see Scotland win that. So from there, we'll go on to college rugby. Yeah, like I was saying, I was talking about Iowa Central Community College. I'd been coaching there for 4 years, really enjoyed my time there. I think it's a really special place. I think it's a unique place in that it's a community college. Over half of our players did trades degrees, but they got to play Division I college rugby. Really cool spot. I'd also like to shout out here, Midwest Barbarians. So I still coach the All-Stars for the Midwest region for NCR. We were in Atlanta about a month ago. I really think the All-Star program that NCR puts on is top-notch. It's a great opportunity for players, especially, I think for the D1 players, they get to mix with the best other D1 players in their region, and I think that's really cool. I think it's really even more valuable from the players from small schools. I can relate to that because I went to a small college. We weren't particularly good, but playing up and being on that all-star team my last couple of years of college, that was a great opportunity. That was where I was like, oh, hold on. It's not me and like my three teammates who like, we need to do all this other stuff and play out of our minds to get us to win. I need to do my job really well, and being able to play with other players who were really good from other schools in my state, it was invaluable. I just really think there's a spot for rep rugby. And I think for players in college at the D1 level, especially if you're playing for a good D1 team, you're in a daily training environment. your matches are pretty competitive and at a reasonably high level. Now, I think the all-star level's just up a little bit from there, but for the players from small schools, from D2, D3 schools, maybe their team's not as good or whatever, they're probably the best or one of the best players on their team or even in their whole conference. The opportunity to get in a team with a bunch of other good players and where they can focus. Maybe they play a slightly different position at all-star level. Maybe their role is all they got to worry about is doing their job. They're not the captain. They're not worrying about making, scoring 3 tries so that hopefully their team can win. If they just do their job really well, that they're going to be successful. And I just see so much growth out of players when they do that. So I guess that brings me to my next one, which would be Vail, Colorado. So go out to Colorado. This will be my 3rd summer coaching in Vail. We bring a bunch of college players out, and kind of like all-stars, I just see it as a great growth experience for players. Guys, and now looking like this year, gals who want to push themselves and be the best rugby player they can. Like for a lot of players, they can play, maybe they've got some club sevens they can play in their hometown, wherever they go back to. A lot of players end up just hanging around their college town. I'm going to lift. I'll play a little bit of this and that. What we do in Vail is we bring in college kids who are motivated. They've got good place to live in a really cool part of the country, get a cheap gym membership. We've got a bunch of other teammates who are motivated like them. Got a good core of local guys in Vail that play rugby, and then we bring in the 20 college men, and we mix them all together, and we try and make the best rugby team possible. And it's been a really fun experience the last 2 summers. I've really enjoyed most of my players. Really love Vail, Colorado. It's gorgeous. Can't say enough about the club and how well they take care of players, as well as myself and my family. But again, as a player that looking for the next opportunity, be it all-stars, be that the next tournament, the thing in the off season, the whatever, going to Colorado in the summer to play for a team like Vail, like looking for those next opportunities, that's how you differentiate yourself. And that's how you get, going back to the other question, that's how you get more game time, but more pressure situations. So the difference between playing at a D3 or D2 college team and then going and playing good men's club for the summer with a bunch of other really good college players and adults, that's going to level you up. Like looking for that next opportunity where you're going to push your skill set and push the level. Because it's one thing to be good at this level. What really, really matters is, no, maybe I'm not sure, but like go for this next level. Go for 2 levels up, and just getting that experience, you're gonna push yourself forward. You can't help but push yourself forward by pushing like the level you're playing at and trying for more opportunities. And as long as you're healthy, like healthy being a big thing, I think there is a time, like rugby players do need some time off. It's a physical sport. You need some time to really get there in the weight room and build and get bigger and better. But you also need, maybe a month, 2 months off somewhere to let your body fully recover. But if you're healthy, play rugby. Like you're only going to get better by playing rugby. And I see too many players who are like, I'm not sure. Like, I really love rugby, but like, no, push yourself, do it. If not now, when? I see too many people, and I've had players I've coached even who they chose not to go for it. And then they end up being like, I never found out if I could do that. The flip side, I've had a lot of players who I've coached as well, who they go for it. Some of them have been successful, gone to the professional level. A few of them have represented their country, but at least they know if you have an idea that you want to go for something, go for it so that you at least know. All right. You don't want the regret of like, I think I could have, or I'm not sure if I was good enough, but I didn't try. So I definitely wasn't good enough. If you don't have a family of your own, if you don't have a child or anything, go for whatever that next level is. Buy the plane ticket, go to the next, whatever, the next invite, the next camp, the next all-star team, whatever, the tour, the sevens team, whatever it is, push yourself, go to that next level, the next level, the next level, and get as much experience as you can and just be a sponge for knowledge. It will pay off. I've not had many players who went overseas, who went somewhere in the summer and really pushed themselves. I had very few of them who had bad experiences. It's 90+% of the time, it's a positive experience. They learned something, they grew, even if in some cases, maybe they didn't make the first team on that sevens team they went for. They still got better and had a positive experience, and they learned something about themselves and about rugby, the game. And they got to play with people who, I thought I was good, but like, I went to that 2 levels up and I couldn't crack the starting lineup, or I couldn't crack the first team. That's still good. That's a growth experience. That's lessons. You take those lessons, You put that back into what you've been doing, learn the lesson, go forward, you will be better as a result. Like human beings, we don't do good by being stagnant. We need to push ourselves, we need to challenge ourselves. So when it comes to rugby, as long as you're healthy, challenge yourself. Go to the next level, try the next opportunity. Be that All-Stars, be that the next tour, the next whatever, or be that a cool place like Vail, Colorado for the summer. Again, we bring in 20 college men. We're bringing in 8 college women this summer. All right. Go push yourself. It's a great opportunity. There is nothing like Vail, Colorado. It is the coolest place in the country to play rugby. It's beautiful. There's the mountains right in the background and on either side. Like, can't say enough about the place. I guess I'm going to close with this. The Eagles men, I just got out of their camp in Chula Vista. I think that's a really big positive. So with MLR going down to fewer teams, shortens the season a little bit. That means also that we've got some time before the MLR season starts where we can get the Eagles into assemblies. I think that's a really good move by Scott Lawrence and staff, even though there's not a test match or anything that they're specifically training for. Like, get them in camp, get them playing together before they really get into their MLR preseason. That will only help the Eagles as a team. I think the USA men's sevens team, they were somewhere in Nairobi, maybe somewhere. I think they went 4-1. It sounds like it's really weird. So we're on the second tier of sevens now internationally. A little bit strange, kind of a bummer. Sevens they've shrunk the World Series. Basically, I think we just need to finish top 4 out of like 6 teams. Only loss was to Germany, interestingly enough. I think it was the first match of day 2 of that. Lucas Lecamp, I heard, was the top point and try scorer for the whole tournament, so good on him. But the more that our Eagles are playing together and the more experience they're getting internationally or even just in camp, like we said, the men's 15s were just in Chula Vista, that's a positive experience. Like more rugby as a group, that's a better thing. I think Scott Lawrence and co are doing a great job with that, and I think that was a great decision to have this early season camp. Also, again, shout out to Wisconsin kid James Rose. I think he's 20. He's a sophomore at Life. He's already in senior camp. Like, I'd seen that kid since he was like a wee little lad. Always was a baller. Late in high school, grew into his body. Like, I remember he was a tiny dude, grew into his body late in high school and went from like the best player in Wisconsin, but kind of overlooked because he was small, to like, whoa, all of a sudden he's getting USA U18 invites. Now, immediately as a freshman, he was starting at Life. Now, as a sophomore at Life, the kid's getting invited to senior Eagles camp. That is incredible. That doesn't happen by accident. That kid comes from a rugby family. He had a ball in his hands constantly as a kid. He played as much rugby as he could. All right. He has talent and hard work and a good attitude. That all helped, but it didn't happen by accident. If he picks up a rugby ball, even freshman, sophomore year of high school, none of that happens. All right. He had a ball in his hand when he was a little kid, and he had skills by the time he even got to high school. And then when he physically matured, all right, world was his because he had the skill sets already. He was tough as nails. He was physical, and the body caught up, and he's ready to take the opportunity. So big shout out to him. I think there's really good things going on in Wisconsin, in particular that Fox Valley. They have had really good flag rugby for over a decade, and a kid like James Rose, he's kind of like that first generation and a half to like fully come through, where they've been playing, like, there's a number of them. I coached a few of them. They're from rugby families, so they were around the game already. But the rugby community in that Fox Valley, kind of from like Green Bay, Pulaski, all the way down to Fond du Lac, they had flag rugby. So they had organized flag rugby for these kids to play at a very young age. And they have a couple hundred kids playing flag rugby every year. Eventually, those kids have a positive experience. They have fun. Then they go to tackle rugby. Then they go to high school rugby. By the time the kids get to college, like, they've played 100 games. Like, they've got 100 matches under their belt. You can't compare that. Like, you need match time to develop. You need ball in hand time as a young kid. So any and everything you can do to get a ball in a kid's hands, please, please do it. Get a rugby ball in a kid's hands. It's really, really, really important. You are doing a service to the future of rugby in America if you can get this thing in a young person's hands. All right. And as many young people as possible. All right. And then even then, like, go to the next level, find the next group of kids, help the next program, the next town over, whatever it is, help them get something started. Like, we need the ball in more kids' hands at a young age. So with that, I think, unless somebody else has any fun questions to ask me, I'm going to keep doing this 8 p.m. Mondays. As you see, I'm making some silly shorts. I'm still waiting on my equipment to get here. I bought a cam from Amazon, and then Amazon canceled my order. I think they thought it was fraud or something strange like that. So hold up on that. But we're making progress. I'm making silly shorts, mostly pump. Why am I so handsome? That's got to be my wife asking that. I'd say good genetics, decent diet, exercise. Yeah, the beard, mostly the beard. Uh, but totally lost my train of thought with that one. Uh, you got me. Um, watch more rugby. Watch more rugby. Get a ball in more kids' hands. Like this is a great sport. American rugby can do it. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Most of what I'm doing right now on this channel, it's live matches. It's going to be these on Monday nights, and then it's some silly shorts. Once this equipment turns up and I figure out how to edit videos, there will be hopefully some more informative content. I've tried to do a handful of shorts, mostly ball handling related, that are at least a little informative, but they're short. I did a 3-minute short explaining what I, as a college coach, have always been looking for out of players, and hopefully that even crosses over and can help players in other sports because it matters. Like attitude, like freak athleticism, size. Yep, that's a thing you notice. But are you coachable? Do you have a good attitude? Are you a good teammate? Do you have the skill sets of your sport down? I think those are critical. So, thanks for being here. We'll be back again next week. We'll probably put a silly short out tomorrow morning or something. As long as everything works with family and the baby and everything, I'll keep going live during Six Nations matches whenever I can. But put a ball in kids' hands. American rugby, we can do it. We're good enough. We're smart enough. And if the rugby world don't like us, to heck with them. Let's take him over, okay? Let's do this. Let's do this thing with this oval ball we have. Give this oval ball to some kids. You will help the world. You will help American rugby because we will do it. All right. Help Scott Lawrence with that moonshot thing. All right. He needs help. He needs you to help get the moonshot to get us into a Rugby World Cup quarterfinal. All right. We're in Australia next year, next fall. The men are. And then the women 2 years after that. And then 2 years after that, we got a home World Cup. The home World Cup is everything. That is the opportunity for rugby to blow up in this country. And what we cannot do is lay a complete egg at that home World Cup. All right. The women will probably be okay because they're just better than the men right now in 2033. But in 31, if the men blow it, golden opportunity. We need to get some excitement around the sport. We just need more eyes on the sport, and we need this ball in 10 times more kids' hands, and we need to get those kids as many opportunities and as much game time as possible. So thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Go American Rugby. Love y'all. Peace.